was 6 when she first told me I was a mistake. In front of the whole family, she shouted, "You're not part of this family. You only annoy everyone and ruin the mood." Older brother Ethan laughed, and sister Rachel stood embarrassed on the side. Father was silent, and I cried silently, hiding my face in my hands. I lived in a house where shadows replaced love, where every look from my stepmother was full of contempt. Every step she took was a test for me. Her love was generously given only to Ethan and Rachel, the chosen ones. Father seemed indifferent, patiently listening to her words as if they were instructions, and tried to ignore me, as if I weren't even in the room. My childhood passed in endless attempts to earn at least a drop of attention. I learned to be quiet, not to ask questions, not to interfere. But I was too lively to break. At school, I was an excellent student, sometimes peeking into my laptop to read about the business my father ran. I dreamed of proving I was worth more than what Catherine made me out to be. But the house still felt like a cage. Stepmother watched me as if I were an enemy, not a daughter. "Are you in your books again?" she asked mockingly whenever she suddenly appeared in my room. "You'd better learn how to behave in society, not pretend to be a smarty pants." My attempts to get closer to father led to scandals because Catherine turned him against me. "Lily is too capricious," she said. "She needs to learn to respect order." Father believed her. He believed her. When I was a teenager, the darkness in our house grew thicker. I noticed strange movements, confidential documents Catherine searched for and hid in a safe, calls at odd times, conversations with unfamiliar people. I tried to tell father, but he dismissively waved me off. "Don't meddle in grown-up affairs, Lily." Father fell ill and unfortunately, a few months later died of a heart attack. I knew that his death was too convenient for Catherine, who immediately took control of the business and the house. I can't forget the funeral. Catherine was the princess of mourning, cold and always composed, holding Ethan and Rachel in her arms like their protector. I stood aside without a dress, without inheritance, without a future. When the lawyers presented the will, I was dealt a blow. Father left everything, not to the children but to Catherine. No house, no property. She said I was too young, that the adults would manage everything. I heard only the quiet laughter of bitterness in my heart. "You'll leave, Lily," she said with an icy smile. "And don't come back." And I left. My exile was stretched thin like a fragile thread. I lived in a small room, worked at a café, and gathered information about the family bit by bit, building connections and uncovering their weaknesses. My revenge was born not out of a desire for power, but from a thirst for justice. I planned to expose Catherine, to reveal the true face of the one who destroyed my family. And now, 7 years later, I'm back. Not a girl, but a woman with a cold plan. Returning to the house that once was my prison was strange and hard. But I knew, to beat Catherine I had to play by her rules, cleverly, patiently, coldly. My first move was a meeting with my brother Ethan. He grew proud and confident, believing all the laurels would rightfully belong to him. But I knew, beneath his mask lived insecurity, a fear of losing what he had. The meeting happened by chance, in the café where I worked as a barista. He didn't recognize me at first, and I played the role of the forgotten younger sister, uninterested in family affairs. "Are you Lily?" he asked, looking with slight mockery, but curiosity flickered in his eyes. "Not quite the Lily you remember, Ethan." I smiled, lightly touching his gaze. "Haven't you stopped fearing that everything you own might be at risk?" He frowned. In this world, even trust was a weapon. Then it was Rachel's turn, the quiet, obedient sister who always sought approval from stepmother and father. I knew she wasn't as flawless as she seemed. Behind the fragile appearance hid a thirst for recognition and a fear of being left in the shadows. We met at a charity event. I managed to invite her to talk in a secluded room. "Aren't you afraid that all these games with Mom are just a mask?" I asked, watching her pale face change. "That she can betray you just as easily as she betrayed me and Dad?" Rachel hesitated. The irony left her lips. Something stirred inside her. That was the first crack. The plan was gaining momentum. I gradually gathered evidence. Letters, financial documents, recordings of conversations that entangled Catherine in deception and fraud. Everything was to become my weapon. But the game turned out to be more complicated than I expected. Stepmother was not just a fraudster. She was a predator, able to manipulate and destroy lives with a single glance. I saw Ethan and Rachel change before my eyes. From Catherine's allies, they gradually turned into doubters, hesitating. One evening, I met Rachel on the old veranda of our house. The sky was covered with dark clouds, reflecting the anxiety in her eyes. "I don't know who to trust, Lily," she admitted, clenching her hands. "Catherine has always been like a mother to me. I was afraid of losing her." "You'll lose her if you don't start seeing the truth," I answered firmly. "I'll help you. We can choose who to be, her puppet or the master of our fate." The night was long, full of secrets and confessions. My revenge was becoming not just destruction, it was a test of strength. I knew. Ahead lie deeper shadows of the past and dark choices that may change us all. Several more months passed, and the house I once called a prison began to feel like an arena for my game. Catherine still looked invulnerable, her smile shining like a mask hiding fear. But I already felt her puppet strings cracking. Rumors appeared in the business world. Unexpected audits, delays, questions from partners who previously dared not to disturb anything. Stepmother tried to suppress the wave, but each step got harder for her. The harshest test awaited me within the family. Ethan began openly refusing to support Catherine. His looks met mine more and more often, as if an invisible pact was forming between us. But Rachel struggled with herself. Inside her was a hope that peace could be preserved without losing the family. But fear gradually grew stronger. "You're going too far, Lily," she said once when we met in the kitchen of the house, as if by accident. "Revenge can destroy not just her, but you too." I looked her straight in the eyes and replied, "Didn't she tear herself to pieces many years ago? What do you think is worse, breaking the bond or living in her lies?" Her hands trembled. Sometimes I ask myself the same question. It scared me to lose not just my family, but myself. The power of revenge was changing inside me, turning me into someone I didn't want to see in the mirror. At that moment, Catherine invited me for a talk. Hatred could no longer hide in her eyes. She looked like a predator exposed to the light. "Do you think you can destroy me?" she whispered, coming dangerously close. "Have you forgotten who I am, Lily? I hold the keys to your future." "Then I'll take them from you," I answered calmly. "Truth always wins." Her hand suddenly clenched into a fist, but I stood firm. The moment of truth was coming. The move was mine. I prepared everything. Evidence, conspirators, new allies. My brothers and sister were now on my path, not because I forced them, but because they saw the light at the end of the dark tunnel of lies. Now our family could be more than just a broken chain. But the price for that could be too high. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left, and thank you for watching.